come back
Fine.
and
I can take that on that.
I think the point Councillor Smerdon's probably suggesting is in past it was $1,000 a horsepower for a tractor, which wasn't that long ago. Actually, they went below $1,000 a horsepower for a while there. So I believe was it 250 or 150 for that purchase?
175, I think.
170.
Don't have that information.
It would just be interesting to know the size of that machine. Verify that we're getting value for money.
Yeah, my apologies. I admit through you, Mr. Mayor, I didn't realise that you were wanting specifications for that particular piece of equipment, but I have been advised that the John Deere, along with other manufacturers of plant equipment, have a number of price rises in recent times, and this procurement has been assessed and evaluated by the operators of the workshop too has been the most appropriate for operational requirements, but it makes no mention of its value in the sense of dollars per horsepower.
What I was trying to make was that in the past, up until about 2 or 3 years ago, we used to slash with an 80 horsepower tractor, and now I think we are over 100 horsepower. And I was just what justified us in going up 20, 25 extra horsepower?
Mr. Mayor, one possible answer to that is I think everything up to 90 horsepower is Chinese. I think
No, it's not.
what I was told anyway by someone in the industry was you've got to go over 100 to get the American one.
Oh, okay. In the John Deere, you're talking
Yeah.
about? News to me, but anyway.
Well, you live too far west, Councillor Merton. If you came into the real world, you'd get all this information.
Yeah, well, all I know is our draft horses are still Australian, you know. Yeah.
Did they all come back from the war?
And no, there's no excuse for you either.
So was there another question on notice to be reported on?
A verbal?
Just the verbal, Adrian, with regards to the rail trail.
Mr. McGann's going to.
Okay, I'll hand over to Mr. McGann for the second question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So yes, there was some discussion around the Mary Valley Rail Trail, and it was more around the feasibility study currently being funded. So just to bring you up to speed, the stage one of the Mary Valley Rail Trail was completed in August 2019 and funded under Works for Queensland. Council secured just recently 249K from the TMR to undertake a feasibility study for stage two, which is the Imbil to Kandanga 10 kilometre and the stage three Kandanga to Amamore 6.4 kilometre stage of the Mary Valley Rail Trail. I have attachments of the EOI document that was to secure the TMR funding. If you wish, some of the feasibility study will include structural engineering advice relating to the existing bridge structures and waterway crossings, environmental advice including flora and fauna reports, community engagement including discussions with adjoining landholders, economic assessment including economic impact, civil engineering survey and legal, tenure and governance advice. RFQ 2022-23 012 for a suitable consultant was undertaken to do the feasibility study. We only had one respondent at the close of time, and it was for more than what our budget amount was. So we're currently seeking how we may rescope some of that to fit within the funding that we've through the TMR.
Councillor Smith.
On the subject of rail trails, I actually sent an email to Mr. Lewis the other day.
Hold on. Is this in relation to the question on notice, or is this just a sidetrack?
Sidetrack.
Let's stay on the main highway, please, Councillor Smith.
Wait, before.
That's how you make
He's
it.
just overtaking the bus.
Councillor Fredman.
Whilst we're on the highway, not on the sidetrack,
This is getting
Hey,
back
we
to
just got
Marcus'
two
questions,
lanes.
I think.
I've just been given the figures on usage for the Mary Valley Rail Trail from Imbil to Bruloo.
Yep.
3 weeks, 1,729. It is so popular. And all I can say is that I presume you'll be given those figures in due course. But they've got a laser counter there, hidden in the bush there, and those figures are pretty staggering. But it fits in no matter what time of the day, 5:30 onwards. You never go on there without running across someone. It's very, very popular. All people, all ages. So that's encouraging. They've actually the Rail Trail Association has bought a counter.
Councillor Smead.
Question for Councillor Fredman.
Yes, Councillor Smith,
Rattler
can
in
I
and
help
out,
you?
or,
What?
Is that like the rattler in and out, or just one way?
It'd be both ways, wouldn't it? Be both ways.
It'd be both ways because the counter. Yeah, well, don't forget, of course,
So
Councillor
could it
Smith,
not be the same walker going out and coming back?
and it could also be the walkers one way too.
Okay.
And it could be, don't forget, you can come back via a different way as well, which is a bit tricky, but a thing called a road,
Oh,
Diggings Road, you can come back around there.
Come back on the highway.
Through you, Mr Mayor, we have received only just recently similar figures, not to the numbers that Councillor Fredman is saying, but if I think about how we'd extrapolate potentially the number of people that would cross through a hidden laser, those numbers would be fairly close to what we're hearing.
Councillor Smead.
I think the usage of Kilkevin Rail Trail is zero at the moment because it's closed. So I was just wondering, getting off the main highway,
Let's stay on the highway. We can bring that question up this weekend later time. Is there any more questions in relation to the discussion topic that Mr. McGann has talked about? Councillor Smith, Stuart.
I just want to thank Mr McGann for the, I think I might have asked the question.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'll take a note to bring or to make available more information about it, the current status of our rail trails and where we're up to about bringing them back online, or the work we're proposing to do them and in what time frame. We're considering a lot of potential events and whether we actually do some of those in different locations. We don't want to be seen to be undertaking works that may be undone by particular weather events, because to that extent we don't have, information that would give us a critical assessment of where we may be in January, February, and whether we should or should not undertake certain works and certain rail trails. That may bring us into ridicule for why we did it in the first place, if those weather events are true.
Thank you, Mr. McGann. I'm sure that initiative will very much satisfy Councillor Smead.
don't get off the highway there, will you?
If there are no other questions in relation to those responses to questions on notice, we have one in committee item to deal with. Is there someone to move that we go in committee? Councillor Smerdon, Councillor Polly second. All those in favour? Against, carried. I believe you need a bit We're good to go. Back in open session, we didn't have a lot of discussion around this, so I'll allow councillor Stewart and then councillor Floyd to speak in relation to the recommendation.
The Port Tin Can Bay is on TMR land, so we need a lease with TMR. The initial offer wasn't so good. So I'm happy to trust the CEO. Based on what we've already had discussions with him to enter an appropriate lease.
Councillor Polly?
No, same with councillor Stewart, just happy to see give the CEO the power to negotiate a good future for the pool.
Two speakers for the recommendation. Any speakers against? Any other speakers for? Councillor Mill?
Yeah, I'm the same. We need to negotiate the best possible lease because it is money that we need to spend on it. I do identify, we don't want to risk that having this facility in towns. We do need to have that lease in place. And it is good to have a qualified specialist to come in and actually do a full assessment so we can actually future plan our facility provisions for this township, especially when it comes to the pool space. So I'm looking forward to seeing that come back.
Any other speakers for or against? Councillor Stewart to close.
Thanks.
We'll go to vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. That concludes all our agenda items for this meeting. Thank you for your attendance.